Hello again. Observant viewers will see that I am once again in Wales. I'm eager to move here permanently, but of course, this house is not only listed, it's also a conservation area. Since it's basically falling down, this means that every single piece of work has to be done with special materials, and I can't just do it myself with a hammer and chisel and a bucket of snow sand, which is the sort of thing I would do in the liberal application of owl diet. It's all got to be done in a particular way. We hope to get it all done before we move in, but the way things are going, that's likely to take at least a year. The British workman is the same in all parts of the kingdom, and if you're not actually standing and watching him, he will have endless smoke breaks and sit gossiping with his mates and looking at sporting life. I have worked on both building sites and also at a builder's merchant, so feel that I can say this without causing offence. But anyway, things are progressing slowly but surely. While I'm here, I thought that I would talk a little about the Welsh plan for eliminating racism in the Principality and making Wales an actively anti-racist nation. They intend to achieve this wholly laudable aim by means of a 12-step programme. Whether this has been set up in deliberate mockery of the famous Alcoholics Anonymous 12-step program to sobriety, I could not say. But in the description to this video, I give a link to the Welsh plan. The steps are as follows, to save you all having to wade your way through this long-winded and tedious document. This is number one, we will take a number of actions to tackle racism through building cohesive and integrated communities. For example, we will tackle Islamophobia through work with faith groups, community leaders, and equality partners to explore the adoption of a definition of Islamophobia, mainstream tackling Islamophobia in our anti racist training and policy making processes. Ensuring the Hate Hurt Wales campaign highlights the harm caused by religious hate and bigotry. I might have guessed, of course, that the Muslims would be top of the list, even though there are only about a dozen of them in the whole of Wales. As we know from the recent menacing crowds outside cinemas in the north of England, Muslims must be appeased at all costs, even when it comes to censoring films made in Britain by British people for British audiences. So it's not surprising, really, that Wales think that they should be the first people we're worrying about. Number two, provide safe, culturally appropriate accommodation and address the lack of site provision and poor quality of gypsy and traveller accommodation in Wales. Ah, yes, those awfully nice travellers have poor quality accommodation. I suppose that sending all those Irish tinkers and vagrants back to Ireland and letting them deal with it all would be too much to ask. I suppose they have their hands pretty full over there at the moment with more Nigerians than you can shake a stick at. Three, to identify and break down barriers which prevent equitable access to healthcare services for Black, Asian, and minority ethnic communities. There are no such barriers, and this is nonsense. Nothing is preventing black people and Asians using doctors and hospitals like anybody else, and so this point is nugatory. Four, to improve the experiences of black, Asian, and minority ethnic learners and teachers in schools, we will require reporting of racist incidents and harassment in schools and colleges, improving educational standards generally, and trying to find out why black kids don't turn up on time and do as they're told would be a good beginning here. That was my words. That's not actually part of step four. Perhaps doing that, if they could turn up for their lessons on time and do their homework when it was wanted, that might improve their experiences and also the experiences of those who have to deal with lateness, bad behaviour, and so on every day. Five, to address the poor experience of being in the health workforce by introducing an equality standard to show evidence to make and measure targeted structural change. Well, I've no idea why the experience of black staff should be any different to those of other people. This is just an excuse to use the word experience again, so that people will know that we are in favour of listening to the lived experiences of black people. Welsh Government, this is number 6, will create a sizable shift in culture, including behaviour change within the organisation towards values and behaviours for anti-racism. They will get expert consultancy support with appropriate lived experience and experience of working effectively in a government to review Welsh Government's human resource policies, procedures, and practices to ensure they are explicitly anti racist. Lived experience. This is critical race theory jargon. It is completely meaningless. I interpret that step 6, to mean there's going to be an awful lot of jobs for people monitoring and busybodying about. Step 7, to ensure that all Welsh Government employability programmes offer a safe, positive and inclusive environment for all staff and students. 8, eliminate the ethnicity pay gap by 2050. Seriously? There are, of course, several ethnicity pay gaps, and unless we know which one they are talking about, it's hard to comment on this. Chinese people and Indians earn more than white people on average. Is the idea to reduce their income so they're more in line with those of white people? That doesn't sound fair. Or are they talking about the fact that black people tend to earn less than white people? This is true, of course, but then black people don't tend to study for academic A levels, and even when they don't do too well at them. They get fewer firsts at university as well. This ties in with what I said about lateness and mucking about at school and college. If they studied as hard as Chinese and Indian pupils and university students, then they too would earn more. It's up to black people to encourage their children to do this when they're pupils at school. 9, to ensure that the Welsh Government workforce reflects the diverse population of Wales. One measure will be to ensure they reach the recruitment target of 20% from an ethnic minority background by 2026 at all levels in the organisation. Really weird. 5% of the population in Wales are from ethnic minorities, and yet the Welsh Government want to make sure that 20% of their staff are from this group. Why? Why should they employ 4 times as many black people and Asians as their population percentage suggests would be fair? More work needed on this idea. 10. Each NHS organisation will commit to a programme to educate, mentor and support people from a black, Asian and minority ethnic background. 11. Continue to be a nation of sanctuary. 12. Ensure that the employability of forced migrants is supported. I don't know what this means. The words are English, but they don't really make sense. I am very much afraid that Wales is now trying to outdo other parts of the United Kingdom in implementing a framework of action based upon critical race theory. The good Lord preserve us.